I'm going to play a very difficult live performance piece called Ice Canyons. And before I do, I've prepared 3 little etudes to sort of introduce you to some of the techniques that I'm using. These techniques, some of them to my knowledge have never been used before in music. Of course, who knows, maybe that's a hard thing to say, but at least not to my knowledge. And the first one is called, as on your program, Collapsed Rhythm. And but before I do, I just wanted to mention that 3 of the 4 pieces you're going to hear tonight are available on DVDs. In other words, you get the visual as well as the audio. And we welcome you after the concert to come and take a look at our table here. So the first technique I'd like to explore with you is something called collapsed rhythm. And what I do here is I take a melody, perfectly nice, legitimate melody, and I just destroy it. Bit by bit, you can hear the melody going on, and bit by bit you can hear it start to deteriorate and collapse in on itself. So here's the original tune that this piece is based on. It's kind of like for you musicians in the audience, it's a ground bass. That's it. It just keeps going on and on. You'll hear it going on throughout the piece. Now, I am going to proceed to destroy it in front of your very eyes. So, let's see what happens here. By the end, you can hardly recognize it, right? So what happens is I'm just taking this and I'm introducing random processes which retain all the notes of the melody, but they put them in all different orders. So you have the same pitches, but in different rhythms. And that's called collapsed rhythm. Now I'd like to show you how I use this in the piece. I'm going to play towards the end of the piece, and here's how it sounds. Listen for this to collapse. Start with it this way. Okay, so we sure destroyed that one, didn't we? That's called collapsed rhythm, and that's how the piece ends, actually. Sort of like an iceberg in Ice Canyons, sort of an iceberg sort of collapses into the water. That might be an analogy to that. The next little tune I'm going to play for you is called Leaky Melodies. And this one is not as rare in composition, but it's kind of fun. First of all, I have I wouldn't call it a theme or a melody because it's kind of a random set of notes, but let's listen to it and see what it sounds like. And then we're going to leak notes out of that. Now, watch gradually as I take this, and sort of like raindrops now, sort of like a thunder shower. And now it sort of descends into kind of a drizzle. So You see the notes are leaking out and only a few remain. And here's how this sounds in an actual part of the piece. Listen, at this point the melodies have already leaked. And kind of very ethereal sort of. You could just feel the coldness on those icebergs, right? I probably shouldn't be playing this in Minnesota, should I? Because you're probably sick of ice by now. The last one we're going to do is called Energized Harmonies. And first of all, I'd like to play the theme again. This is another theme, kind of like a tune that's had a couple too many glasses of wine, I'd say. And then the next, now here is the same tune, but in a different instrument. It may be a little hard to understand this, but it's the same tune. So you recognize that, I hope, right? Now, this time it's going to play again, and watch what happens to the pitches. See, the pitches are all random now, right? Now I'm going to, finally, I'm going to take this and I'm going to leak some notes out of it. Okay. And now, the final result, as it appears in the piece, sounds like this. Oh, wait a minute, just a second here. Okay. So those are just three little examples of how I think of sound.